Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and we have the Morris 1300 here, the AD016. Drove it up here about 2 days ago, and now we're ready to get it into the workshop to have a look underneath for the first time. If you haven't seen it before, it's, I believe, a 1970 model. It's a barn find. First video, we got it going. The second video, I gave it to my wife for her birthday as a surprise. She really likes it, but now it's time to get it in and start having a look underneath. I haven't had time before because this is the busiest time of year for me when it comes to customer cars and things like that. But let's talk more inside. The mosquitoes are starting to get to me. Let's see if it fires up, drive into the workshop, get it up in the air, have a look underneath, see what that weird noise is, see what it looks like. Hopefully it's not a complete rust bucket. Let's get inside. And yeah, this started falling off earlier. I think I need to glue this back on. But get inside. Oh, that's that rubber thing. The mosquitoes absolutely are loving here. But let me set up the camera and we'll drive it in. And I'll show you the weird sound. I think it's a gearbox mount in the back, but it might be something else. All right, let's fire up that noisy fuel pump. If you remember, it's just sort of laying there in the back. That is something you got to fix as well. But we'll let build fuel pressure, fill up the carb. Might be full now. Pull out the choke, and let's see. There's a starter button because the keys don't work. Well, let me see. There we go. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. Oil pressure light went out. It's charging. Oh, it needs a little bit of choke. It's quite cold tonight, but yeah, the mosquitoes are crazy. But you know, old car running usually saves it because they don't like that, the exhaust. So I only crawled underneath this thing for a little bit when I picked it up, and it seemed pretty solid. It's been under sealed, started to peel in places, so I do want to redo that. But let's get reverse. There we go. And you're going to hear that sound now, the gearbox sound. Oh, what is... Yeah, and all the linkages and everything are, there we go, are not the greatest either, so I do need to have a look at that as well. And, now, especially first, is the worst. So you listen to this. You hear that? But if I give it some throttle, it's better. But definitely something going on, so that's what I want to have a look at and check out some other things. We're in the workshop. Close the door, get the mosquitoes out of here. I'll get this thing up in the air. Now you can hear me better. I'll get this thing up in the air and we'll have a look underneath. I've had a very brief look underneath, and honestly, not too bad. We'll go underneath now in a second and have a look. I just had to charge my flashlight. But yeah, if you want to see the previous videos, I'll put a playlist down below with them in. The first one is firing this thing up for the first time in a lot of years. The engine was actually stuck. And the second one is showing it to my wife. So the one thing I found inside the car was a box with some CV joints. Or not CV joints, but what are they called? I can't think of the name right now. But I'll show you underneath. So I don't know if those need to be replaced or if that was just a guess. But other than that, I found a couple engine mounts. One looks new, and let's just have a look. So under here is the transverse engine. It's not very oil leak or anything. I've had a drip pan underneath it and it hasn't dropped anything, so that's really good. I think the slight wetness around here is probably a lot from the drain. Oil filter area is very dry. And not too bad. And rust wise, it has been undercoated, starting to flake away in places, so we're definitely going to want to redo it. But it doesn't look bad. Brake lines up there look all right. We'll have to look at brakes another day. But it's these parts here, which I don't know, it's late at night. I can't even really think of what they're called right now. So someone's going to comment that down below and make me feel silly. And I'll probably think of it while I'm editing it. So I do have new ones of those, so I think we will replace them because that's not a bad idea. But lay down the flashlight here. Well, there we go. I can't see any play. And let me see, can you see that in either sides? So I don't think that's an issue, but we'll try and figure out. One thing I've seen, the lighting is, sorry about that. One thing I can see is that engine mount looks very, very new. It also looks like it has two spacers behind it, which I don't think that's correct. So that's interesting. There's supposed to be a rear engine mount somewhere up here, because it's this thing here, which I think has all the shift linkage in it. I think that is what is hitting basically the tunnel up here. And I think that's what's making the noise, because the whole gear shifter, it just vibrates. But if I have a look, it's very difficult to film this. I'm trying to remember where I looked. Yeah, up there. The bracket there is a mount that looks pretty oily and sort of worn. So I think I'm gonna have a look if I can get all mounts and maybe replace them all so they're not too expensive. Otherwise, at least get that one. And we'll probably do like those there that we talked about, and then try and see how it is and see if it's better. Especially since I already have those, so that's a free fix. Because remember, we are flipping this thing for a profit. I want it to be good, but if we don't need to spend money on something, we don't have to. It's a weird echo from the engine bay. Floors underneath, it's just surface rust, all that. We'll lay down the side and have a look, but it's just flaking under seal. And I've poked around with a screwdriver. I haven't found any rot yet, which is fantastic. So I think just a good wire brush and some coating, it's going to look really good and last a long time. But let's crawl under there and have a look. So at first glance, this doesn't look that good, but the flakiness is just the under seal. And I think we've caught it just in time because, yes, moisture has creeped under here, but it is just surface rust. I know it's always really hard to convey these things on camera, but it really just is surface rust. Nothing else, even all the seams and everything. So yes, it's not perfect, but I don't think we have to do any welding. Of course, we may find a small hole somewhere once I get this off, but if we do, it would be very, very simple welding. Nothing really difficult at all. Sills are looking good. See, this is just that under sealing flaking. So I think we caught this thing just in time. And the other side is exactly the same. And the rear suspension looks pretty good. We'll have a look at that a little bit in a second, but I'll just double check because this would be probably a good place for them to rot. Oh yeah, caught this thing just in time. While we're under here, the exhaust system, yes, it's surface rusty, but I can't see anywhere that it leaks, and it doesn't sound like it has a blow or anything. Hey, maybe that is the rear engine mount. Yeah, that is the one. That's the one I was looking at, the rear gearbox mount. Yeah, that feels really soft. So, yeah, that moves a bit. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so we're gonna get one of those. I think as the first thing to replace. We'll see how it is. So I'm gonna order one of these. Not sure if I need to get parts from the UK or I need to, so it might take a couple weeks to get parts, but we're gonna get one of those. Then in the meantime, I'll also order up an oil filter, a couple other like tune-up things and new points and things at the same time. But yeah, very nice underneath here. Fuel tank back here, and like I said, I think in the first video, it looks like it's been replaced at some point, so that's in good shape. There's also surface rust over here. I've gone through everything. It's remarkably solid, even though it doesn't really look like it. So I think we have a good car here. Maybe I will need some front brakes, brake discs. Have a look at the rotors, but they do work. So we'll have a look at that a little bit later. But I think first thing is ordering parts to get rid of that clonking, and I think that is the main culprit right there. So honestly, I'm really happy with the results, because you know, when you just lay on the dirt and the barn looking underneath, it's very difficult. The only thing I had was my car keys, so I started jabbing them at the floor, seeing how it was, and it felt solid. And for what I paid, which I think we'll talk about in a different video, I mean, this thing was very, very cheap. I'm happy with it, but it was a very unknown. I took kind of a big gamble buying this. I didn't really look it over more than about 10 minutes, and then I made an offer. But I think I'm really happy with what I've got here. So I need to order some parts. It might take a couple weeks or so for that to arrive, but as soon as it arrives, and I have a break with some customer cars, we'll fit that. We'll see if that fixes the clunking. I think before then we'll have a look at brakes. We'll do a different video looking at brakes, see if we need to do anything about them. They do work, and they don't seem to drag or anything, so maybe they're fine. Maybe we just need to flush the lines and they're good to go. But we'll have to go through that in a future video. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Till next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.